Lieutenant Governor Van Huysen, Speaker Hansen, Supreme Court Justices, constitutional officers, members of the House and Senate, and to my fellow South Dakotans. I want to welcome you all to the Capitol today and thank you for making the time to be here. Before we get started, I would like you to help me welcome First Lady Sandy Rhoden, my wife, in the gallery. Welcome her to this Capitol. It is customary for a governor to give remarks before a special session, but I promise not to take up too much of your time. I know we have important work to do today, and so I want you to get to it. We're here today to complete something that is several years in the making. Truth be told, I'm actually quite impressed with our state penitentiary in Sioux Falls. It has stood for 144 years, and that is no small feat. That's probably a lot longer than anybody really expected. But our state is much different than it was 144 years ago. For starters, we weren't even a state back then. We were a territory. And as our state has grown, so has a number of criminals that need rehabilitation. And while there are many that say, lock them up and throw away the keys, I think we all realize that nearly all of them will be released back into society. Unless an offender is serving a life sentence, he will be back in a South Dakota community. If the primary goal of a government is to keep people safe, we can and we must do better. That means making long-term investments in public safety. And it means placing an emphasis on reducing recidivism and getting offenders back to work. That's why I'll be launching the Correctional Rehabilitation Task Force following the passage of this legislation. 8 months ago, when I stood in front of you for the first time as governor, I told you that the penitentiary in Sioux Falls is Gothic. That reality has not changed in the last 8 months. Everyone realizes the penitentiary needs to be replaced, but our situation has certainly changed. After the proposal for the new penitentiary failed in this chamber, we listened and we put all options back on the table. I worked with legislative leadership to form a task force to look at this opportunity with fresh eyes, take public input, and build support. We put equal numbers of proponents and opponents on that task force. We included members from both chambers and both parties. We brought in relevant folks from the field of law enforcement and criminal justice and behavioral health. I challenged the task force with 3 questions. First, do we need a new prison? Second, how big it should be? And third, where should it be located? I knew we needed to build support to answer all 3 questions, but I never dreamed that we'd have unanimous agreement from the task force on all the questions, all 3 of those questions. I've served on many task force and summer studies in my day. I've chaired a few of them. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to tell you that it is rare to reach unanimous agreement on such high-profile issues, especially when it comes to making key recommendations on big issues and large projects like this. This will be the single largest public safety investment in the history of South Dakota. And that task force reached agreement on how to move forward. So today, I want to thank each and every member of that task force for taking leadership to get us to this point. First, to the man behind me, Lieutenant Governor Van Huysen, Tony, you took what seemed to be an impossible task and helped get us to this point. You built agreement, and then you helped coordinate the design for that facility. So thank you. To the senator on the task force, President Pro Tem Carr, Majority Leader Melhoff, Senator Otten, Senator Lapka, Senator Colbeck, Senator Hone, and Senator Smith. Some of you supported the initial plan and some of you didn't, but each of you played a key role to get us here as well. Senator Carr and Melhoff in particular have been fantastic advocates for the task force plan. Senators, thank you for taking leadership and offering to be the chamber that runs this bill first. And to the House members, Speaker Hansen, Majority Leader Odenbach, Speaker Pro Tem Lems, Representative Reich, Representative Jameson, Representative Mulder, Representative Colbeck, and Representative Healy. Again, some of you supported the plan, some didn't. But your service on the task force represents some of the best we can expect from South Dakotans. You rolled up your sleeves and got to work to get the people's business done. Thank you for hammering out an agreement. And we have many non-legislative members of that task force here as well, starting with Attorney General Marty Jackley, Yankton Police Chief Jason Foote, Minnehaha County State's Attorney Daniel Hager, Minnehaha County Sheriff Mike Milstead, Jane Fifley, and Tiffany Wolfgang, who brought a perspective on behavioral health to the task force. Thank each of you for your unique contribution and expertise. You all took the call and stepped up in public service when you were asked. So again, thank you. And to the Minnehaha County representatives in particular, thank you for helping us build a Sioux Falls-focused solution. The task force delivered unanimous agreement on all three questions presented. Their process was a true example of the benefits of open and civil discourse. They came from different sides of an issue. They took over 8 hours of public comment from dozens of South Dakotans. They met 4 times in various locations across the state of South Dakota. They built consensus when it seemed impossible. They proved that open and civil discourse doesn't just make for good process, it makes for good policy. And now we have a good plan. This plan fills a need for 1,500 beds at a relevant security level. It will be built to a 100-year construction standard, meaning we won't have to revisit this again for a very long time. It triples the programming and vocational training space that we have at the current state penitentiary, and it has increased space for faith-based rehabilitation. And while this plan for the new Sioux Falls site cuts costs, it does not cut corners on security. This plan has the support of South Dakota major law enforcement associations. They know that a new facility will help them keep our communities safe. Because this proposed plan meets a $650 million budget set by the task force, we won't have to borrow money to pay for it. I also want to recognize a few folks that aren't here with us today. And first, I want to say to Governor Kristi Noem, former Governor Kristi Noem, thank you for having the wisdom and the foresight to save for this project. It wasn't a problem that you created. It wasn't a problem new to your administration. But you were the first to chart a course to get this done. We would not be here where we are today without your leadership. So again, to Governor Noem, thank you. The same thank you goes to the former legislators who saved money so that we can pay cash to invest in public safety. That includes many of the legislators I see in front of me in the chamber today. Those folks voted to save money in the past to protect taxpayers in the futures. By paying cash up front, we will save hundreds of millions of dollars in the long run. And because of those actions, we don't have to raise taxes or cut services to invest in the public safety of the great people of South Dakota. I'm also grateful to the contractors. They are swallowing additional risk to guarantee that South Dakota taxpayers won't pay one dime more than $650 million for this project. By doing so, they put the biggest outstanding question to rest. Throughout this process, there have been a lot of questions on the public safety investment. I was committed to making sure that we got to this day without any questions left lingering. And it seems to me that we've answered them all. But I want to make one last commitment to all of you. When I stood up here 8 months ago, I told you that I wouldn't be tough to find. And I believe I've kept that promise. And I'll continue with that promise. Today, if any legislator has a question for me or my staff, my door will be open. Come down to the second floor and we'll talk. Or I can just as easily come up here. If you still have questions, let's get them answered. So I promised I wouldn't talk too long. I think I've talked long enough. So I'll end with this. Thank you for prioritizing the safety of our correctional officers and inmates as well. Thank you for making an investment in public safety. This project will be built. It will build the foundation for a century of true offender rehabilitation to take place. South Dakota is a true example of fiscal responsibility and an example to the rest of the nation of what it means to be strong, safe, and free. Thank you all. God bless you, and may God continue to bless our great state of South Dakota. Thank you.